25, 40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They block the kick!
This is the Orange is Orange or Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I am your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as always, Browns insider Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, the world seems to have come to a screeching halt, but the NFL is rolling on. The Browns have made some moves. Are we back? Are the Browns back?
We love to say that all-season champs, right?
Yeah.
You know what, though? The difference this time is these are smart moves. Maybe not necessarily splashy to the rest of the league, but these are smart moves. I mean, we literally tonight signed the best right tackle on the market, the best tight end on the market by a mile. I still can't figure out why Atlanta let him walk. And probably the best backup quarterback, at least for what we are trying to do, as in teach a system to Baker Mayfield that Case Keenum has some familiarity in. It's just the three extremely smart moves made by the Browns today, which I guess shouldn't be a surprise considering the IQ level of the people running the team now.
I can just hear Freddie Kitchens now. Where were these weapons whenever I was their coach? What happened?
Right. Right. But I mean, if you think about it, if you look at, tight end wise, we knew that there was going to be a tight end.
Stefanski, 57% of his plays are run out of two tight end sets, is most in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. We've been talking about that forever. He likes Hooper's Hooper's what we talked about all year that he needed, right? He needed a tight end who can make the important catches, Baker, I'm saying. A tight end who can make the important catches on third down, a tight end that knows how to get open, a tight end with enough athleticism to beat people, and a tight end that can block. He is probably the fifth or sixth best tight end in the league. People don't realize he's only 25 years old. He was a third-round pick just 3 years ago. He was a Pro Bowler the last 2 years. He had 775 yards-ish receiving this year on 77 catches, I believe it was, on 97 targets. So he catches all of his targets. It's incredible. I don't understand. I can't understand. Yeah, I know Atlanta traded for Hayden Hurst today, who I don't think is near as good as Hooper, but I just don't understand how you let a guy like this walk after 2 straight Pro Bowls. And yes, the Browns paid him a lot, but did they really pay him a lot with the way salaries are going? So 4 years, $44 million, 23 guaranteed, all first 2 years guaranteed. They really didn't. And they didn't saddle them. So they did exactly what they said. They didn't saddle themselves on either one of these guys for longer than 2 years. All the guaranteed money on these guys, all three of these guys, is over the first 2 years. It's just incredibly smart contracts, incredibly smart players, incredibly smart deals.
So let's talk about Hoop for a little bit. When I watched the Falcons play, and granted, not a lot, but he always stuck out because he has what I call Gronk hands, and Gronk was the first tight end I ever saw this. He wore those big ass white gloves, Jeremy, that just seemed bigger than every other thing on the field, and the ball just gets swallowed up by these gloves. And Hoop, he kind of has that look. He's not super fast, but he's fluid, he's smooth, and I just felt like he caught everything, which is almost the exact opposite of
the numbers back that
Njoku.
up. The numbers back up. The numbers back up what your eyeball tells you, because he does catch everything that comes his way. I mean, I paid attention to him probably closer than most for the obvious reason, because he's on both my fantasy teams. But I mean, just in general, the guy is a player, and it's I heard a lot of people saying before the signing today. Actually, some of my friends, he was linked to the Packers because he played for LaFleur in Atlanta. LaFleur is in Atlanta. He fits their system as well. And, a lot of people just thought he was using the Browns for leverage, if there was even any real interest after Mary Kay tweeted out this morning. Props to Mary Kay. Everyone bags on Mary Kay. But who ends up getting all the stories, Nobody in the local media gets the stories that Mary Kay does. So props to Mary Kay for having it first.
Mary Kay, come on the show. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, you did tell me you would, by the way, Mary. So anyway, though, it's just, what can you say? It was a great day for Browns fans. Now, obviously, everything has to play out on the field. We've been excited about things before. I do think this is a little different, just because just the intelligence of the moves, but just because they weren't necessarily splashy, they were just smart.
Well, let's a couple more minutes on Hooper, and then we'll get to the rest of the action. He was the first tight end signed. You mentioned the first tight end, top tight end on the market. The second tight end signed, just give you the gap, Jimmy Graham.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And Jimmy was a great player at one point, but
So no contest at all. He's the 8th ranked tight end according to PFF. He was the 3rd best offensive player in the Falcons. Jeremy, question to you, and this will be the final question about Hoop. Is he in the field of Kelsey and Kittle?
I think he's a
That's
little
the
bit
standard.
below that.
That's the standard.
Yeah. I think he's just a little bit below. He's probably in, if Kelsey, it's probably, Travis Kelsey, Zach Ertz, those guys, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I think he's in that next 5 to 7 range. I think Hooper's probably 5th or 6th. And I don't think you'd get much argument about that. As an all around tight end, he's 5th, 6th, 7th, probably him, Mark Andrews, guys like that right there in the middle group. But I mean, he's definitely top tier. There's no doubt about that.
He's getting paid like top tier. He's getting paid like
for
top
now.
tier.
Like I said, it's a big deal, but it's going to be blown away very soon by guys that you just talked about. The Travis Kelce's of the world.
Sure.
So
that's the nature of
right, exactly. So
cap.
This is I don't like I said there was I don't know if you saw, but Joe Banner and some other guys all said that this was a steal, that he could have got more, and that his agent probably left money on the table.
The Browns signed him 4 years, $44 million. Listen, this is from ESPN Stats Info. The Browns, they spent $63 million in guaranteed money today between Hoop, Conklin, and Keenum. They said the most that we've spent in guaranteed money since 2011. So the Browns not afraid to dish out the dough. You have anything else to add to Hoop, Jay? Are we ready to move on?
No, I mean, I'm excited about it. I was super, it was nice to, like you talk about, nice to have a little bit of live action sport type stuff to talk about.
Oh my gosh!
But after a few days of nothing,
Dustin Fox had a funny tweet. He said, "My timeline on Twitter is a mix of the world is ending and NFL trades."
Yeah, right. Well, the NFL is. We've always said the NFL, in my opinion, is the smartest league, and they're definitely the best at PR. Right. Yeah. So they know there's no real danger.
NFL?
In my opinion. In my opinion, the NFL is the smartest league as far as taking advantage of situations, right? They know there was no danger in doing this. The players were not in any danger. They know there was nothing else going on sports, and they'd have the entire spotlight on this whole thing, right? Now, that and the reason that the players union would have had to agree to move the start of free agency, which they weren't going to do because why? Because players were going to start getting paid contracts Wednesday, right? Players want to get their money. So that's why they couldn't move it anyway, but it just worked out well. I think most people I saw, I don't know about you, didn't have a problem with the NFL doing this because that's what it's about, right? Life is about having some distractions from bad stuff.
Sorry, I can't get over the fact you think the NFL handles PR things the best.
Well, I mean, they've had, all leagues have had.
That's another podcast, another
they've had their issues, obviously. All leagues have. I want to say, maybe I don't want to say PR things. I just think they're the best at taking advantage of situations like this that present themselves. But anyway, moving on.
It would have been silly for them to stop phone conversations and negotiations that probably aren't in person anyway. This makes sense, and it provides brevity, and I'm sure everyone's enjoying the little bit of scrolling through and hopefully listening to this podcast. Jay, what else are they going to do when they're at home? Well, go ahead. Let's this is what else I want to go over all the moves and talk about 2 more specifically like we did Hoop. We signed the best right tackle, thank God, Jake Conklin, 3 years, $42 million from the Titans, one of the very best right tackle in the league. Paved the way for Derrick Henry, blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about that in a moment. We signed the best backup quarterback, as you mentioned, Case Keenum from the Redskins, 3 years, $18 million, $10 million guaranteed. We placed a second-round tender on Kareem Hunt. We let Kirksey walk, signed with Green Bay today. We let Schobert walk, hasn't had any, not signed yet, and released Morgan Burnett. Jeremy, let's talk about Jake Conklin from the Titans. Man, I was surprised we got him. Whenever my best friend texted me, I couldn't believe it.
I was shocked. I was following it live, obviously, while I was working. And, I mean, I was surprised. Look, the rumor was did he turn down more money from the Jets? So the Jets are probably the only team that you would consider turning down more to go with the Browns, right? I mean, if there's one team that might be more of a mess than the Browns, it might be the Jets. But, Conklin's still smart for Conklin as well because it's a big deal. It's a lot of guaranteed money up front, but it also free him up one more time after 3 years for one more big payday when he'll only be 28 years old. So in offensive line years, that's still, 3 or 4 years left. So smart deal for him, smart deal for the Browns. All the guaranteed money in the first 2 years, we knew the Browns wanted to do, one of their staples. Smart deal and a guy who fits it. I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, he doesn't really fit." That's what the wide zone system that we're going to run. That's exactly what Tennessee ran. Yeah. And he had an excellent year this year. He's a road grader who doesn't give up pressures, who's athletic enough to do what we need him to do. The best, like you said, the best right tackle on the market. And actually, if you remember, people thought he was going to get closer to $18 million a year.
Yeah.
So the Browns did well on that contract as well. So I mean,
Yeah,
two smart contracts, the positions of need. I mean, right now it's time to turn the attention to defense, which I'm sure you'll hear a couple signings over the next couple of days. Maybe not big stars on defense, but good, solid veterans. And then I think the draft you're going to be looking at, what do we talk about already? Left tackle, right? A franchise left tackle, and filling in holes on defense, because the offense is almost there. We'll need maybe a third or fourth receiver, stuff like that, but the offense is almost there after the first day of free agency. And I don't think any of us thought this would be the case going into this day. Did you? Because I sure didn't.
No, I thought he was going to the Jets. This signing tells me that Jake Conklin looked at the two teams and he liked the trajectory of the Browns better than the Jets, and that the Browns are in win now mode. That when Kevin Stefanski or Andrew Berry are getting on the phone with these players or agents, they're saying, hey, this is our window right now. Here's money. Let's come win some football games. Let's start building a legacy. And when you start to look at the paper, hey, Baker, hey, we had the second best, probably the best overall. Well, I don't know. Derrick Henry had a phenomenal season. Nick Chubb, you know, there's an argument that he was the best running back. Kareem Hunt, what he did in the last 8 games was special. OBJ, Jarvis Landry. I mean, it's not hard to sell Cleveland to these players, Jay. I mean, we're in win now mode. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious now. You don't say these are essentially 2-year deals, like we talked about, with expensive veteran players. I mean, these are win now moves. The Browns, like Jimmy Haslam said, and like Andrew Berry, look, everyone laughed at Andrew Berry when he said the first question asked him was what he learned about in his time in Philadelphia. It was to be aggressive in all areas of player acquisition. The first answer he gave, and he did it. And clearly, the Browns are in win now mode, because these are 100% win now moves. So there's no doubt about that.
This tweet from Jake Trotter, friend of the show. Shouts to Jake. Incredible coverage today is what he said. The Browns boast 3 offensive linemen who are the top 3 offensive linemen at their position in pass block win rate. Treader, Bitonio, and Conklin in 2019. Cleveland is turning protecting Baker from a definitive weakness into a potential strength, especially if we draft left tackle of the future at 10. Jay, do you see us addressing a left tackle before the draft, whether we trade?
I don't think so. I think this sets up perfect now. I think this sets up perfect to get one of those top tackles in the draft. I wonder, could we see Hubbard cut tomorrow? I don't know, possibly, because, I mean, that clears another $8 million to the Browns, and they still have some money left. They still have, $40 million, I believe, or something they could spend. So yeah, if they drop him, that'd be another $6 million, I believe, with the dead money. So you can see that, or they keep him for depth. You know, originally he was considered an excellent, when they signed him from Pittsburgh, he was considered a versatile guy that could play anywhere on the line as depth. So maybe they hang on to Hubbard as depth, draft a left tackle, one of the top, there's essentially 5 of them that people think can be big time left tackle. So one will be there. I mean, we obviously like Becton or Wirfs, but there's a lot of situation for that. I don't think they sign another veteran. I think they're done there. We already have a pretty expensive line, and we're going to get one. I mean, when you add in Treader is one of the highest paid centers in the league. Bitonio is one of the higher paid guards in the league. Now you have one of probably the highest paid right tackle in the league. You got to start looking at that kind of math a little bit at least. So I would guess, getting your starting left tackle at 10 would make that an affordable proposition for the next 5 years.
I kind of look at our team makeup, and I'm finding an NFC mirror to our team, or a very similar trajectory if we continue to build our line strong like this. Do you feel like we're becoming the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC?
The Cowboys? No, I think we're becoming the Minnesota Vikings of the AFC. I think the rosters are good. Once we find our fullback, which they will find somewhere, we're going to be a lot like the Vikings. Look at the Vikings. 2-star receivers, Browns 2-star receivers. Vikings 2 good tight ends that are 2 different styles. Browns 2 good tight ends that are 2 different styles. The running back situation is similar. It's the Browns and the Vikings are already very similar with a lot of the coaches coming over. System is going to be a lot alike. I mean, Kirk Cousins and Baker very well could end up being very similar players. So, I mean, and now we have Case Keenum as a backup who played where 2 years ago? Minnesota, right? So,
yeah. Well, he was in Denver after that.
Denver, yeah, Minnesota, Denver, Washington. But yeah.
I mean, I
Regardless.
I think obviously there's going to be a lot of similarities with the Vikings, especially with Stefanski. But I just think the Cowboys, man, they have a dynamic running back. They have a young quarterback. They have a strong receiver, and they have a very strong offensive line. It'll be up to our defense. I don't think the question here is, do the Browns have a good offense? We have a lot of holes left on defense, free safety, linebacker, and just a lot of holes. Jay, do you see us making many more moves here in this in the free agency?
I mean, we still have money, and there's still guys we could cut. I mean, we have to see what happens with Olivier Vernon. We're not 100% sure he's going to be here at $15 million next year. The Browns could cut him with zero dead cap, which means that's $15 million more freed up. We talked about Hubbard. I don't think it'll happen, but you never know. I think there could be one of the situations too where the Browns are waiting to see on somebody. I don't have any idea who. I don't even have any names to give you, and we don't even know who all is available. There could be guys available in trade as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think the Browns will wait and see. I think they would probably like Olivier Vernon back at a reduced rate, maybe give him $15 million guaranteed over 2 years, but cut the cap hit for this year, even something like that. He may not be willing to do that. Right now it's all a guessing game. But so I do think they'll still be active. I think they realize that they don't have any safeties and they don't have maybe one NFL starting linebacker right now. Like we just talked about, they're obviously in win now mode because they signed veterans to long-term to short front-loaded contracts to win games now. So I would expect they have some pieces that they're going to be looking at hard tomorrow and Wednesday that will shore up that defense.
And I guess that's why my mind went to the Cowboys, because their defense has always been suspect, and the Vikings have a pretty strong defense. They just put a ton of money into their secondary.
They're also cap wizards. Okay. Minnesota they just re-signed Harris. No, they franchise tagged Harris, right? The safety we were interested in, and they're up against the cap. They got Kirk Cousins to take less money this year and extended him 2 more years. I mean, like I always talk about, the cap is malleable. I know that makes people mad, but it's just a fact that lots of NFL execs have talked about this now. The NFL salary cap, you can always find a way around it if your boss is willing to give upfront money, right? If your owners are willing to give a ton of cash up front, you can always manipulate the salary cap in the NFL. Vikings are unbelievable at it. When you go through their roster and see what guys are making, you're going to say, how the heck are all these guys fitting under the cap? So, but the Vikings are a good model to model yourself after. Joe Harris, as we know, was also with the Vikings for years and years and years. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where we go next. There's rumors that they golly, his name just escaped me. Their other safety from Notre Dame. He's been a star in the past, that they're willing to move him trade wise.
Well, I think
Harrison.
They just signed him too, didn't they?
Harris. No. We'll look it up and fix it later. But I'm just saying there could be some opportunities to will and do a little bit with them as well. But yeah, the Browns are definitely, I think, still going to be aggressive, because they know if they're going to compete, you can't simply say, oh, we're going to go draft 3 or 4 starters in the back 7. That's just not how it works. So you might see the Browns go out and get a couple veterans on the cheap, maybe a Danny Trevathan to play linebacker. He's got some history with his coaching staff. But I think you're definitely going to see the Browns address these with at least stopgap players who can start on a good team next year and then draft. We've been over this ad nauseum. You cannot, if you're going to compete, rely on 3rd and 4th rounders to be starters.
Yeah. Jay, at the end of the day, do these moves, do these signings make us better or hurt us more in the long run?
Oh, come on, man. Of course it makes us better.
I mean, some of these signings, you scratch your head, like with other teams, right? And you're like, why would they do that? I find it really hard for us to – I don't want to just look at this super, biased, but I feel like these are awesome signings, man. Like, you got to be pumped.
There's no way around – look, there's no way around. I mean, there's literally no way around. I haven't heard – have you seen a single person say they were bad signings? I've heard nothing but praise.
The only thing I've seen was maybe Hooper is a little overpaid, but Conklin was a steal.
I saw underpaid.
Keenum
I saw underpaid. I saw underpaid on Conklin by multiple people too. Yeah, I mean underpaid on Hooper. Yeah, and I'm sure there's always going to be critics, but I didn't see anybody saying that. But I'm sure there were people.
Maybe Keenum's not a steal, because I think, what is it? Normally they pay backups like $4 million a year in the NFL.
Yeah, and exactly. But we had a little extra game. We give him $10 million guaranteed over the first 2 years, because why? A, he's someone who can win games if something happens to Baker, and
even
B,
he's
justifiable. A guy. And he's a smart guy who's been around the league, that's familiar with the system and can help us, help Baker learn the system essentially.
Yeah.
So I can't see anything bad to say about any of these 3 signings.
Yep. Well, Jay, the Browns players have been silent, but the Browns have made moves. These are the kind of noises that we want to hear from the Browns. We don't want to hear a lot of player drama. We don't want to hear any of that. This is what we want to hear. Get us excited. Get the fans back. Jay, I mean, I don't want to touch too much on the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you think the draft is going to be altered any?
No, they already said it wasn't. Did you see that?
No.
The NFL issued a statement tonight. They are not moving. It's not going to have a live crowd, but it's still going to be in Las Vegas.
Okay.
No live crowd, obviously, but it's
Gotcha.
it's going to be on the date. It's set. It's going to be on the date. It's going to be just a made-for-TV event, which really won't affect us at all. It never had a crowd anyway until 3 years ago. So I think the first
crowds. I remember.
No, they had the small crowd indoors at the. They had a small crowd indoors, but I'm saying they're not going to have the giant 70,000.
Oh, yeah.
You had it in the New York, the Radio City Music Hall, was it, or somewhere where you had a few thousand? So it's not going to be any big deal at all, really, to have it remotely. And even if the players can't go, I'd say by then the players might be able to go, get them screened as they go in. But even if they don't, it's no big deal. They have cameras at their house, like with Baker and a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So you could have the reactions there. So it's a made-for-TV event anyway for the most part. So I don't think it's really big deal that they're not moving it. They're definitely 100%. They announced they are not moving the date. Cool. It will happen the date it's set up. Well, so hey, and speaking of that, you're going to have some live sports coming pretty soon. You see the story your buddy, our host on the network, Sam Amico had. This is a very interesting story. So actually, it's Brian Windhurst. Brian Windhurst is who broke the story earlier today, and Sam just shared it. So the NBA, this is pretty crazy stuff, has to deliver 70 games for its TV package, its regional TV package, or they have to pay back $500 million.
They don't want to do that.
They can't do it because the players would have to void parts of their contract. So, no player is giving back money. So, just the reality of it. Would you? No. So what they're going to do is I think Windhurst said April 12th is the date they're looking at. They're just going to start playing in empty gyms until crowds are cleared back into the arenas. And they're thinking maybe if the playoffs run into June, obviously, that maybe by June they'll be able to have some crowds. But they're definitely going to start playing mid-April because economic realities are economic realities, And when that sets in, and if there's if there's only 3 players ever tested positive, 2 of them are about to be cleared. If they're all healthy and they can play in a gym without fans, that's what it's going to have to do.
Well, hopefully everything gets back to normal as quickly as possible. Jay, we do have a live draft show scheduled for the end of April. That we'll see what happens there. We haven't really announced that yet, so I guess that was news to everyone listening.
Up in the air, depending upon if crowds get back. They could be. We don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody literally knows what the next couple of weeks will hold with this thing. It could go the way of South Korea where everything's cleared and the people handle it, or it could go the way of Italy and it's a big mess. So we'll see what happens.
Well, hey, thank you all so much for downloading and listening to the Oranges, Orange, Browns podcast. Hey, follow us on Twitter. We can't follow back because we've reached a follow limit, but as soon as we reach 5,000 followers, we will follow back every single time. Make sure to follow Jay at Oranger Fans. Thanks to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Jeremy, any final thoughts, brother?
No, sir. But this has been an interesting, obviously, it's like we lived a year in a week, right? So much stuff happened in a week that no one, you can't imagine. But it was cool to have some fun stuff. My son was super pumped today to see some of this stuff going down. So it was fun times, and everything will be back to normal, before you know it.
Hey, we got some exciting shows coming up. We have some big-time guests coming up the next couple months. So just stick with us, and we appreciate you guys' support.
Alrighty. Go Browns.
Ooh.